This program is designed to provide general information with regards to the subject matters covered. This information is given with the understanding that neither the hosts, guests, sponsors, or station are engaged in rendering any specific and personal, medical, financial, legal, counseling, professional service, or any advice. You should seek the services of competent professionals before applying or trying any suggested ideas. Magazine publisher and entrepreneur Judith Mancini is sharing captivating conversations with experts in their field about the latest trends in our ever-changing world to help you become healthy, wealthy, and wise. Judith Mancini Today will spark your interest and inspire you to lead your best life ever. And now, here's Judith.
Judith Mancini Today is sponsored by Basic Brands, Inc., providing the highest quality specialty products in the natural food industry. Visit basicbrandsinc.com and enter your code JMT15 for a 15% discount on your very first purchase. And now you can also enjoy your very first purchase on some of the other wonderful Basic Brands products, such as the Dry Eye Formula, which helps soothe your eyes from too much looking at that screen. Hi, everybody. Good morning, and hello back east to my Pittsburgh friends and all. I want to welcome you, and I want to just tell you a little exciting news from one of my friends. She was telling me the other day that she has partnered with some people that are in the wine business. Now, my friend is a travel agent. She has luxury destinations. We're going to put the title of her website on the Cryon today. It's Luxury Destinations Concierge. So look for that. They are pairing up, Shanta Money is pairing up with Greg Barnett and his wife, who is a fabulous photographer, and Greg is the owner and winemaker of Nabu Wines here in Westlake, California. Fabulous. They have a tasting room that's just fabulous where they have some music and you can go taste these fine wines they make and all. But this time they are taking a cruise over in Europe down the Danube, and you would love to do this because Greg is going to talk to you about all of his wines, but not only his wines, but the beautiful wines that are made over in that area. So this wonderful luxury cruise is in November, and there's still time to get a cabin. They still have a few left. So check out that website there. It goes across right now, luxurydestinationsconcierge.com. Check it out. Check your calendar for November. And if you can, go over there. It will be fabulous. Who doesn't like the Danube and all the beautiful music over there? And who doesn't like wine? Now, if you don't have an opposite sex person with you, you can go with a girlfriend that would like to travel too. Check it out. You'll have a ball. I wish we could go, but that's right after we're moving, and I don't think we can take the time off. So I'm looking forward to the next time they do this. All right. It is time for the news in one woman's opinion. Who watched the debates last night? We did. We watched them, and I thought they were interesting. Everybody should watch them. Whether you're a Republican, a Democrat, an independent, or undecided, you should be watching these debates. So this one was the first Republican debate, and there were quite a few people on stage. My personal opinion is that Vivek Ramaswamy came out ahead of everybody. He was well informed. He's young. He's never held political office. He's a brilliant businessman, as was Trump. But interestingly enough, he's in his 30s. He's 38, so he's just eligible to run for president. And he's pro-Trump also. He is not slamming him like most of the other people did. Now, we all know President Trump has real problems coming up, and today he has to go sign up at the horrible prison in Atlanta and see what happens. He was able to get bail, so that is a good thing. But as Nikki Haley said, the next 4 or 5 months, 6 months, he's going to be tied up in court on all of these horrible charges. Remember, he is innocent until proven guilty. He should have never been charged with these things. And I want you to remember, innocent till proven guilty, because the Democrats would have you believe he is guilty now. And a lot of the people on stage wanted to tell you that, such as Chris Christie and former Vice President Pence. So I want you to look at all of them. So here is my top 3. Vivek Ramaswamy. And I think having younger people in office would be a wonderful thing. Nikki Haley, former Governor Nikki Haley, an ambassador to the UN. I think they were all the top. And DeSantis, DeSantis did a wonderful job with Florida during the pandemic, and he's been very good about all of the school problems and everything else. So he's really turned his state around. So I think he was right up there at the top. The losers, Vice President Pence. You know what? I'm a Christian. I tell you that all the time. And I'm proud to be a Christian. But I don't want to hear him being so high and mighty and acting as if he can preach to us about the gospel or about how wonderful he is or anything else. The only people who can preach to me about the gospel are men and women of the cloth. I don't want to hear Bible verses that are trying to condemn President Trump. And I think he's really horrible for not saying he would pardon him, because it was his fault that all of this started happening. There have been a lot of elections, several elections, I shouldn't say a lot, but there have been several elections that have been contested. It would have been very simple to say, we are going to hold this and investigate a couple things, and then we will declare the winner. But no, he had to be high and mighty and do this. And in my opinion, he's a loser, a big loser. And he's not exactly saying the verse that he should be saying, do unto others as you would have others do unto you. So I'm not happy with him. And Chris Christie, you know, he hates Trump because Trump has criticized him on how he has run New Jersey. So Christie, that's all he could talk about too. I want to hear what these people are going to do for the country. And I thought Vivek Ramaswamy, was very good at that. And so was Nikki Haley. And Governor DeSantis kept saying that he would improve our country like he did Florida. So I thought those top 3 were the winners. Now, I really want everybody to watch some of the replays and some of the sound bites. You can tune in if you're very liberal. You can tune in to CNN, MSNBC, some of the 3 main networks and all. You can get sound bites if you're a conservative on some of the great stations like Fox and Newsmax. So check those out because you want to be an informed voter. Okay. Now, Vivek Ramaswamy needs to be a little more educated on foreign policy. And one of the things that happened yesterday on the 23rd of the month of August, 2 months to the day that the leader of the Wagner's mercenary was challenged and taken out by Vladimir Putin, the supposed leader of Russia, who is coming under a lot of scrutiny later. So yesterday, there was a plane crash outside of St. Petersburg, outside of Moscow. The plane was going from St. Petersburg to Moscow. It had 10 people on it, including a crew of 3. and it was totally destroyed, and all 10 people were killed. This reeks of an assassination by Putin. This reeks to me of an assassination by Putin. You know, he's already been looked at for poisoning several people, even in different countries other than Russia. So Putin is on the blacklist of many people. Not a good guy. We don't want to give him anything. And that means Ukraine also, because we want Ukraine to remain free. But I would say, let's cut back on some of the money and things we're giving them, because we need money here to help people in Lanai and Hawaii and other places that have been devastated by natural disasters and man-made disasters. So we need to take a very good look at this. And there again, you should investigate these things on your own time, because I want you to. And if I want you to, everybody else wants you to. The other thing is what I wanted to tell you one more thing, and I guess I don't have it yet. So it hasn't come through on my feed that I wanted to talk to you about. So we're going to jump into our theme of the day. And our theme of the day is dating in your 50s and above, because most of my listeners are in their 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s, and I have a couple listeners in their 90s. Congratulations. Okay, so what I want you to think about is, why do you want to date? Why do you want to do this if you're living by yourself and you're single now? So I have some statistics here, and I want you to know them. 40% of 50 to 64-year-olds do not want to get into a new relation. I thought that was interesting. 40% of 50 to 64-year-olds don't want to do that. And I know why they do, but that's coming later in the show. It's no surprise that only a quarter of that amount of men don't want another relationship. I think if you look around at your friends, you'll find that when a man is left by a divorce that was instigated by the wife or him, which usually means he's cheating, but if he's left that way, or if he has become a widower, he is very likely to get into another relationship fairly fast. And that's because he'll be inundated by all these women going over with their casseroles so that he eats well. And in today's world, with all of the cosmetic, aesthetic surgeries and other things, a man can't tell the age of a woman anymore. So they're usually looking for a younger mate. But some of them are wiser than that, and they enjoy women of their own age and even a little older sometimes. Even some younger men will go after older women. Two famous people like that are Tina Turner and Audrey Hepburn. They both had younger companions through the last part of their lives and were very, very happy. And so were the men. So there is something to say about that. Don't be a cougar and run after men all the time. Okay, so we don't know where we're going with this. Some of them are not pursuing it at all. There's many, I don't have a percentage on that, but it's interesting that usually the women that are not actively pursuing a new spouse or a new companion seem to run into somebody they're very fond of, and they end up having a permanent relationship. So why don't you want to do that now? Why do you, in your late 40s, early 50s, 60s, why are you content to not be in a new situation, a new companionship, or new relationship? Well, I think it's because more women in the last few years have found that they enjoy having a career, so they're very fulfilled that way. A lot of them have raised their children, they're empty nesters, and they want to pursue other things. They're not really thinking about having another man in their lives. Now, there are those that are looking for nothing but money, and I'm telling you, beware of those women. They will be going around and they'll be asking their friends to introduce them. But before they want to be introduced, they want to see what their Dun& Bradstreet says, what their checking account says, how they treated their other wife if they're a widower. They want to know everything about him. What kind of car does he drive? What kind of house does he live in? What kind of jewelry did he buy his wife? They're only interested in one thing, and that's money, money, money. I don't want to have anything to do with those women. And I hate to say this, but a couple of my friends are like that. Well, they're no longer my friends, so it doesn't make any difference. And that wasn't the only reason we have not become friends or stayed friends for a long time. I think it's very sad. What man at this age is going to suddenly write a life insurance policy for a new companion or a new wife for $5 million? That's a prenup for some tripping little ditzy woman with big boobies in her 20s or 30s. Doesn't happen, ladies, in your 60s and 70s. Look around for the right companion for the right reasons, okay? I understand how you're feeling. You can have lonely days, but that's what your girlfriends are for. That's what your family is for. A lot of people enjoy their peace and quiet on days when they're by themselves. I like to be by myself once in a while. So I love to be with my husband too. We live together 24 hours a day, but sometimes I go in the other room to read a book. And sometimes he'll watch some program that I don't want to see on television or whatever we're doing. Those are just two examples. It's important to have your self time. So go take that bubble bath. All right. So what have these women done to go through their time while they're looking? Well, some, as I just said, they're happy on their own and they have other reasons they don't want to look for another companion, is because nobody can compare to their former spouse. They're just not ready to commit and think about the long term of being with somebody again, because people are not dying in their 60s. Many people are living till their 70s, their 80s, their 90s. And as I said, I know some people in their hundreds, as my two grandmothers did. They think that family and friends are enough, and sometimes they are enough. But I think it's fun to be able to have friends and maybe another companion in your life to go out and do things. And a lot of women have no confidence that they could attract anyone. Now, I have some pet peeves about women who think that every other woman should be attached at the hip and other parts to a man. You know, my husband traveled a lot. Actually, all my husbands did, but my husband traveled a lot for business. And many times I would be invited to a dinner party. And if I said my husband was out of town, my very good friends would say, well, come on anyway. But I did have friends who would tell me, well, you need to bring somebody with you. Well, one time I did that. I took a girlfriend with me and I told the hostess I was bringing her. She knew her. She knew everybody at the dinner party. But the hostess's table was messed up because it wasn't boy, girl, boy, girl, boy, girl. Now that is the most shallow thing I've ever heard in my life. There's just no telling what some people think and do. At any rate, there are different situations where you do need to have an escort, and most likely a male escort. Like, I doubt that you would go to the inauguration of President Trump to any of the balls, as he had, and go with a girlfriend. You don't do that. You do need to have a male escort, and there are services out there. And I don't mean like prostitution escorts. I mean, they're professional walkers, we call them. And they're very well educated. Usually they're a little older gentlemen, and they may have lost their spouse or their companion. So they will escort you to these very fancy parties that you do need to have an escort to. So that's a totally different subject in how the things happen in society. So that, to me, sums up why you wouldn't want to have another companion. Now, if you're ready, I want you to do something I always ask you to do when I'm telling you these different things. After we have the discussion, I want you to sit down with your journal or with a piece of paper and a pen. Always write it down. It's so much better than having it in a file on the computer. When you write things, you think a little slower. You think of more things you would like to add to your list, or your subjects you would like to explore as you're deciding what you want to do with this second half of life. So use a pen and paper. Bring back that old nostalgic thing called a pen. Don't be so nostalgic you need to find your finest fountain pen, but write it down. Okay, so one of the other things I want you to do with this list is what you would like in a companion. Maybe you didn't like some things with your last companion. Maybe you loved everything that your last companion does or did. Write those down on your list. Also write down a wish list. Maybe you wish somebody would be more excited about jazz music instead of just symphonies. Maybe you want to combine a little dancing. Maybe you want to go out and learn pickleball. So maybe you want somebody athletic. Maybe you just want somebody to sit with you and hold your hand and look at the sky. Write it down and make that your list of wants in a new companion. One of the things I do want you to do as you're thinking about your new companion and you start to get out there, and we'll talk about how you're going to get out there in a minute, but I want you to be truthful. I don't want you to lie about your age. Now, I'm not talking about maintaining your youthfulness through exercise and good health and cosmetic things and aesthetic things, procedures and all. I'm not talking about that. You do what makes you feel comfortable and makes you feel better. And however you think you look better, maybe it's a little bit of makeup, a little bit of lipstick. Do whatever you want to do. We're talking about women here. It could apply to men also. So if you do that, you will be ready to go out. But don't lie about your age, because I'm telling you, somebody who's in their 70s does not look like they're in their 40s, no matter what you do. So right away, you're going to be branded as a liar. And if they ever get a hold of your driver's license or your passport or your birth certificate, if they're really looking at you, you're going to be caught out. And bye-bye, new companion. It's just stupid. Now, I know there's this thing out there that an older man can do anything he wants. He can get younger women, blah, blah, blah. But these younger women are usually pretty shallow, and they're only marrying the guy for one thing, his money. Now, he may be lots of fun. I don't know. I know somebody on the internet who just got married, and the fellow is, I think, quite a bit older. And I'm sure she didn't marry him for his money, but I'm sure it was a delightful side thing because they are having a ball. He is so active in doing all of these things. So who knows? They might even be the same age. I can't tell. So also, I want you to be yourself. If you want to go learn pickleball and this new person you've met doesn't want to learn pickleball, just tell them, look, I like to have a little exercise. I like to have a little time to myself, and I'm taking up pickleball. If you'd like to join me, I'd love to have you. But if you don't, every Saturday or every Tuesday or when I can fit it in, I like to go play pickleball. There's nothing wrong with that. Now, if he likes to go hunting and go on 10-day trips, he needs to tell you that too, because then you need to plan what you're going to do on those 10 days that he's gone. Most of the men are retired at this time, so if they're sitting on boards or something like that, they're only going to be gone a couple days, and only usually quarterly. Sometimes the boards meet every month, so that depends, but they're not traveling, but they might be traveling to golf tournaments and to go see their buddies that they met through business or what have you, social life. So you need to both be honest with each other about what you want and what you do and how you spend your time. So be yourself. If you like to go out to a nice dinner, that's fine. If you like to giggle at stupid jokes, that's fine too. But be yourself, okay? If you like to sing in the shower, be yourself. Don't be telling this new person in your life everything about your past, why you got a divorce, why you only had 2 children, why you decided not to go to college, why you decided to take that job, why you decided to move there, why you hated your parents. Don't tell everything to this new person. Nobody wants to hear it. You don't want to hear everything about him unless he's a serial killer, of course, as somebody just found out. My God, I can't even believe how horrible that would be. So be realistic, be yourself, but don't drag in all of your past problems to your new friend. Later on down the road, maybe you two will feel comfortable sharing all of your past. Now, I'm not talking about, you just don't need to complain about your past all the time. If you're newly divorced, or if you've only been divorced for 6 months, or if you lost your husband or your companion through a terrible sickness, he knows you're grieving. He knows you probably will grieve all of your life because there's an empty spot in your heart. But you don't need to dwell on it and talk to him about it every time, because more than likely, as we get older, the gentleman will have lost their spouse too if they're looking to find another companion, and they have a hole in their heart too. So try to be happy, try to be fun. That's how you start a new relationship. And you might not do that with the first person you've dated. And we'll talk about how you begin dating again in a few minutes. So I wrote myself a note that I can't even read. Don't have a serious discussion on your first date. That's a killer for sure. You know, everybody, as they become an adult, has their own political ideals, as you know from me talking about them all the time. Well, that's your ideal. And on your first date, I don't think you should be asking them, are you a conservative or a liberal? Are you a Democrat or a Republican? Are you a Green Party? What are you? Forget it. It's okay to talk about how the president is doing. Maybe you think he's doing great. He's not doing great by the other person's standards. I would stay away from that. I think it's okay to talk about your religion. Maybe you are Christian and maybe you're Hindu, but maybe you don't know that you're going to fall for this person, and then religion is a problem for you, because that's a biggie. You can overcome political things in a relationship and have your own opinion, but it's very difficult to combine religions of a different source if you're going to be married and you have strong religious beliefs. So You may think I'm prejudiced. I'm not prejudiced. I'm just saying you should take this into consideration when you're dating. And if you don't think you could compromise and have each one celebrate their own religion, then you probably shouldn't be seeing and dating this person. Now, I happen to have friends that are Jewish and Christian, and they are very happily married, and they each bring their children up in both religions, and which is somewhat difficult because in the Jewish religion, the mother has to be Jewish for the children to be considered Jewish. So you do want to discuss this, but the people I'm thinking of manage to make these wonderful relationships and marriages and agree on how they will raise their children and teach them. And then the children, of course, have the option of deciding what they want to do when they're old enough to take that into consideration. So what I'm saying is I leave the really serious conversations out of the first date. All right. Don't hide your backgrounds. As I was talking about the bad things about people, if you have a horse thief in your background, with this day and age of genetics and finding these things out about your family, maybe you want to be honest about it, but maybe you don't want to put everything out in the public arena. So I would be careful doing that. And number 9, I think you should talk about sex before you have sex. You know, here's one problem with people that are an older age from a different generation is many times they're not taking precautions because they think, oh, well, I can't get pregnant, or, oh, well, I can't make her pregnant. But that's not the only thing going around, people. Maybe when you were younger, there was not such an outbreak of STD, sexually transmitted diseases, or now they call them STI, sexually transmitted infections. So I'm telling you, you can have a discussion and what you like to do in your sex life or not do in your sex life before you have sex. And I'm not saying that you should decide to have sex on the first date. I don't agree to those things, but that's up to you. But I'll tell you, longer relationships last when you two both decide you want to have sex. So please take precautions and kind of talk in a nonchalant way about it. You can talk about, oh, my girlfriend did this, or oh, my buddy does this. I think you should be very careful with it. And I think, anyway, you should be careful about who you are dating on your first date. And we'll go into that too. Another thing is, number 10, please don't date somebody the first time and plaster your happy pictures with this new person all over the internet, or take them home to grandma or mama to introduce him. On your first date, give me a break. He doesn't want to meet your family, and your family probably definitely doesn't want to meet him. Give it a little bit of time and be a little old-fashioned and say, okay, after 5-6 dates, my family's getting together at the corn dog place or the taco place or someplace like that, casual. Then take them along if you feel like it's time, and do it that way. Don't take them home on the first date, for goodness sakes. Don't talk about money. Money, 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 honey. Okay, so what I have to say to you here is, after that, we want to talk about, those are the wonderful things that you should be doing. And I just want to mention different places that you can meet people to go out with. You know, I always talk about meeting guys in the library, the grocery store, a restaurant, a bar, on the pickleball course. You can do all of these things, but a lot of people who are older, there's a lot of dating sites for older adults now. And next week, we'll probably go through and tell you some of those sites. But today, I want to caution you about going off with somebody you meet online. First of all, I want you to be honest about putting your picture up on a dating site. Don't put your picture up that you took 20 or 30 years ago. Be honest. There's nothing wrong with shopping it, photoshopping it a little bit, or putting your makeup on, whatever you want to do. But let's not be phony with our photos. Many people put their photo up in their 30s when they're really in their 70s. Now, the other thing is be honest about your background, about your interests, things like that on these. Tell them a little bit about yourself. Tell them what you like to read. Tell them what you like to listen to. Tell them how you like to have fun. Do that and be honest. Don't ask somebody to give you their financial worth on these sites. And don't go out with somebody that immediately wants to come over to your home or wants you to come over to their home, be it an apartment, a home, or what have you. Be sure you always meet in a public place, particularly for your first date. It doesn't hurt to do a background check on these people because many times they're not telling you the truth. They may be using a phony profile. They may have some bad things in their background. So you might want to take the time to Google them, or as I always say, and forget what it is, DuckDuckGo, look up these people and see if they're legitimate. Ask some friends if they happen to know this person. Now, I have 2 girlfriends that met people online, and they're very happily married and happily in a wonderful relationship. And they've been together, both of them, for 10 years at least. So these things can work out very well. But you can also meet these people other than online. You can tell everybody now, my husband, my spouse, my wife passed away. It's been so long. I'm ready for the opposite sex companionship and meeting a friend that has the same kind of values and interests as I do. And they'll be more than happy to introduce you to eligible people, man or woman. So that's the best way to meet somebody. But when maybe you don't know anybody your friends don't know anybody who's eligible. So that's when the online dating helps you. Then now there's all sorts of places that I've told you about. What about class reunions for high school or college? Those would be good things. Maybe you communicate with somebody that you haven't seen for many years and you suddenly notice that something happened in their life. Maybe you want to get back together with them. Maybe you want to go on a cruise for older people. Maybe you want to get a group together. Maybe there are some travel agencies around for single men or single women because you don't want to travel by yourself. Maybe there's places that you wanted to go with your companion, but you were never able to. Time ran out. So you could take a trip through the Greek Isles because you always liked Greek history and you liked to read mythology. Who knows? It's time now to enjoy and do things you've never done before in your life. If you are into hunting, maybe you're looking for a woman who would like to go hunting or fishing. I'm somebody who always wanted to learn how to fly fish, and I never have. Although I did teach my kids how to fish when I was in Lake Tahoe, stream fishing, but not fly fishing. And their other grandparents told them about deep sea fishing. So there's all kinds of things that you could do. Some of you may still live in the home that you were living with, and now you feel like it's time to downsize. So maybe in the new community you're going to be living in, maybe you'll meet somebody there, male or female. Or maybe you are now deciding to go live in one of these luxurious assisted living places where you really don't need assistance living. You're just growing older and you're thinking, I don't want to downsize because my spouse isn't here. I want to go someplace really cool and meet other people. And I do have a couple of girlfriends that have done that now. And they have met wonderful people there. They've made new girlfriends and they've made some male companions that they're having a ball with the pre-planned things that are going on in these luxurious retirement places. There's several of them up in Santa Barbara that are really fabulous. And I know they're all over the country, in Arizona and Florida, all sorts of places. And there are wonderful places to move if you and your spouse, or even if you're single, you can move into a 55 plus area where you'll meet lots and lots of people, married and unmarried, and with companions and without companions. And they have social events all the time, and they take trips into the symphonies and theater and all of that. There are plenty of places to meet other single people who are climbing up the aging ladder. So, a lot of people belong to private clubs too. And so everybody is getting older, and that's a wonderful place to meet people too. So I think it's an exciting time, not when you lose your spouse, not when you lose your companion, but growing older is an exciting time. And here is a little bit of what's happening with my wonderful spouse and me. I kind of mentioned last week that we were in Palm Springs and we were going to be relocating. Well, we did buy a condominium and we bought it in the desert area, and we are doing some renovations to it, remodeling of it, and we're very excited about this. But we wanted a change of location. Now, I'll be quite frank with you, we really would have preferred to go to Santa Barbara, where my daughter is located and her 5 and 9-year-old. But since we are of retirement age and we're not billionaires, we're concerned about the economy, basically, and retirement. So everything in California of the size that we want, and we don't even want large, is ridiculously expensive. And if you're leasing a place, I feel as if you're throwing your money away, because we've been in this little apartment for 5 years because we've been thinking of downsizing and moving someplace for 5 years. And we always want to lease before we buy to see if we like the area. Well, quite frankly, after my son has passed away, we no longer have a reason to live down here. I don't see my grandkids because they're becoming adults and they're very, very busy. So I want to be closer to my little ones, my 5 and 9-year-old and my daughter. But as it is, I don't want to take all of our retirement funds to go buy something in the Santa Barbara area, which is one of the most expensive areas around. And believe me, we're not poverty stricken, as so many people in the United States are now. And I'm very concerned about them and what they're going to be doing as they grow older. But we decided to go down to Palm Springs because Palm Springs, in that area, for some reason, well, it gets very, very hot. And a lot of people don't want to move there. And it's a wonderful, beautiful place. If you like the desert, and the mountains are right there too. So you have no big body of water, but you do have mountains and things like that. So they're all within reach. So that's why we decided to go down there. And we're very happy with it. We have not moved in yet, but you can see my office is becoming more bare, and it's also becoming very cluttered as I go through files and everything that I've accumulated in the last 5 years. So I am pretty active socially, and so is my husband with me. We're looking forward to meeting new friends, but we do have friends in that area. So we're looking forward to being with them. And it's a new adventure. And at our age, a lot of people think, well, you just need to sit around and stay where you are. But guess what? Life is to be lived. And I always say that, I had a magazine called Let's Live. And now I always leave you with my desire for you about living. So this is our new adventure. I'm going to be continuing doing my podcast. I'm going to actually be expanding. Some new things are coming up for me. I'm working on a book, and I'm working on a great idea for groups of women that are over 55 and might enjoy this. And I'll let you know more about that as we progress along. But in the meantime, we are packing up, and you'll never know where my show is going to be from in the next few days. Last week it was from Palm Springs, and this week it's from home in Oak Park. So next week, who knows, we might be back in the desert. Or I know we might be up in Santa Barbara. We have a little one's 5th birthday party coming up. So who knows? We will let you know where our adventures take us. And maybe we'll put a trip together so all of you can come on an adventure with us. We love seeing new places and meeting new people and eating lots of good food. So today, as I leave you, I want you to remember, as I always do, cherish yesterday, dream tomorrow, and live today.